Thank you. Stand up if you would, please. We make a transition real quick, if you will, please. Luke chapter 10. Can you turn with me there? Luke chapter 10. I'll read just a short part, beginning with verse 33 from the Living Bible transliteration. But I really want you to see the symbols. I think that Jesus is talking about the symbols here. But a despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw him, he felt deep pity. Kneeling beside him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with medicine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his donkey and walked along beside him till they came to an inn where he nursed him through the night. The next day, the Samaritan handed the innkeeper two $20 bills and told him to take care of the man. If his bill runs higher than that, he said, I'll pay the difference the next time I'm here. It's from that I want to take these remarks, not a sermon, believe me. And I hope you'll understand where I'm coming from and what I'm driving at. Thanks. You can be seated. I do appreciate you being here and listening. I know it's an inclement day and everything, but look. One of the most spectacular descents that you will ever make would be from Jerusalem, 18 miles away, all the way down to a place called Jericho. Jericho sits on the north and is the guard, so to speak, for the Dead Sea. Qumran is close to it, where the caves were, where the Bible transcripts were found. Today there are commercial things all around it. You wouldn't believe it. But this trip down from Jerusalem down to Jericho is one of the most spectacular. Here's the reason. You're in the northern hills of Judea in Jerusalem, the city of God. And you go down and you reach a point where the bus driver or the guide says, we are now at sea level, but we aren't there yet. And we go down and on down and on down until we get 1,300 feet below sea level. It is the lowest place in all the earth. And it's right there where this incident took place. It's awful brisk at night. If you traveled and you got out, which you probably don't, you'd need a coat when it's March, April, or May. In the daytime, it gets quite warm. As a matter of fact, in January, February, you can have baptismal services there because the water stays kind of warm and it warms up quickly, but then at night, it just gets really brisk. It is really a spectacular thing. This road that you're on is not a cheap road like a driveway or like, let me say it like this. It isn't like MacArthur Road, okay? It's more like I-95 or 295, except it's not divided on the sides. On the right and on the left, there are all kinds of sheep and goats and Bedouins with little tiny huts. And right in the middle of the hut, you will find an antenna for TV. Out there, they've got TV, and they've got the computer out in the desert there. When you are with me, we normally, not every time, stop at the Good Samaritan Inn. Now, the Good Samaritan Inn does not look like it did then, but the one they think is the Good Samaritan Inn has had a building over it, sort of like this right here, and you know it didn't look like that at the time. Let me look, 2 stories to this, two levels. On the bottom level, when a person came, they put their horse, their donkey, their little burro, or they might have a sheep or something else. On the top floor, they put their people who were going to spend the night. They had nose plugs for them because, I'm just kidding about that, but you could imagine how much you needed one, and you could imagine how noisy this place must have been. But it, alas, was all that was between Jerusalem and Jericho. And the man made money, and he knew how to do it. On one fateful day, around 2,000 years ago, there was a sharp rapping on the door of the inn. And the innkeeper came to the door and looked dead into the man that was standing there's eyes and said, "What do you want?" It's kind of late. Then he looked over him and saw his burro, his donkey. And on that donkey was strapped a man dripping blood to the ground. A tooth was going through his lip. Pieces of bone was hanging out. This man was in one, I don't know how to even say it in good terms here, except that this man was in bad shape. He was ready for the ghost riders in the sky and the vultures to come and get him. He was moaning with his last breath on that donkey when that man said, "What do you want at an hour like this tonight?" And the man looked at him, and a Samaritan man, now understand. He's unwanted. You understand that? He's not a real wanted man. Nobody liked Samaritans. He said, "Well, sir, on the way up the mountain, I saw this fellow on the roadside. He's in a bad way. I heard him moan, and I couldn't turn him down. I went over and I looked at him and I said, 'Man, I'm in a hurry, but I got to help you.' Something said, 'Look, he's going to die anyway. Get yourself on up that mountain and get to where you're going up this tiny road.' But something else on the inside said, 'Stop and see if you can help this dude.' Highwaymen had hit him and hit him hard. They ripped his clothes off of him. That's one of the things they do. They want your clothes. And left him almost naked as a jaybird, bleeding and bruised. Took every bit of money and supplies that he had and left him. He said, I got out and off, and I poured oil, that's what medicine was, and wine into his arms and rubbed him. And he said, I had to tear my own shirt. Look at this. In order to get anything to help him with. And just before he went cold and blinked out, he took a few sips of water that I had and passed out. And he looked at him and he said, but man, this guy is going to die if he doesn't get some help. So I brought him to the only place that I could find on this road. And I know this is it. And I've got to have your help if we're going to save him. The innkeeper looked at him and said, but what do you expect me to do? He said to him, I want you to keep him, and I'm going to do the paying. And he reached in his pocket. Now, I know he didn't have $20 bills. But that's what Dr. Taylor said the equivalent of it was. He had a bag of money that equaled the $40, 40, 50 bucks. And he said, I got the money, and I'm going to be sure to give it to you. And I trust you enough that I'm going to give you the money ahead of time because we're going to save this man. I'd stay with you, but I can't stay. But you can stay, and you're going to stay. And incidentally, if it costs any more than what I'm leaving you, when I'm here the next time, I will give you the balance. Now, that's real love because religious people had already passed him up, you know. And this man, this Good Samaritan, as we've learned to call him, is now willing to stand for the whole thing. He lifted the man from the donkey. You can imagine Festus Hagen getting one off his donkey for Mr. Dillon and carried him into the inn, and he laid that man down on that couch. And he put that money bag in that man's hand, the innkeeper. Now, the innkeeper is faced with a dilemma, a real dilemma. What do I do? What can I do? How can I spend the funds wisely? What if I spend more than we've got and I give out of my own pocket in order to keep him alive? Will this Samaritan, do you think he's going to return? Or will I be left holding the bag and be victimized by a traveler coming along picking up a hitchhiker? But the biggest question of all was this: is there any way that this man can make it? Let me ask you this. Can you hear me today? Say amen if you can. I just want to make sure you're with me, okay? Not a lot, I understand. But I'm what you got right now, okay? The whole story is in Luke chapter 10. The doctor recorded it for us. And you know it. You've heard me preach on it. You've heard other people preach on it. You've seen stories and everything about the Good Samaritan. Jesus gave this dramatic story to show us the difference in who neighbors were and who really had what it takes and who didn't have it. I don't want to preach a sermon, so I forgot about a sermon, okay? I don't have a sermon. Sermons, I just don't have it today. There's a message here not about a sermon, but a message of life for you, for this church, for this city, and about what's happening right now. I want you to consider, first of all, the traveler going down. Let's get some symbols if we can. I'll tell you who I think the traveler is. And all these things came flowing to me in the last few days. The traveler is humanity. The masses of humanity that we have that are traveling along life's way. We've been attacked by the highwayman and all of his henchmen, the devil, and those that really try to wreak havoc on Christians and on people and ruin them. Do you think for 1 minute that God caused my nephew to have multiple myeloma? Don't you tell me that. Somebody at the funeral last Wednesday said, you know, I think maybe the Lord just wanted him up there with him. I said, don't say that. Don't say that. The devil attacked him. I am come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. He said, the thief comes, the highwayman comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But my goal is not to do either one of those things. I have come to bring you life in abundance. So if you're one of those who believes that he's going to come along and knock us off just to make us feel good, you stop that. Don't believe that. The attacker that hit him that night was Satan himself. And I believe the Holy Spirit wants us to hear that. He is highly organized. He knows how to hit you in the right place. He knows how to ruin a life. He knows how to make you write guilty over you. He knows how to bring you AIDS. He knows how to bring illegitimate children because of so many millions of one-night stands from men who can be high and mighty. He specializes in breaking up families. You think he wants families together? No. He kills little boys like that little boy down at Lumberton they found yesterday, drowned in a pond. He comes in to bring hatred between father and mother and to bring about a gang of illegitimates who don't have a family at all. He's the one who knows how to make a woman get dragged into the street so that everybody can make fun of her and throw a stone at her. He knows how to do that. He's a specialist at it. He's a specialist at tearing up churches, wrecking ministries, causing you to distrust other people. He's a specialist at that. He knows how to bring hunger to little babies. He knows what sunken eyes are. He knows how to make them in babies and little children. He knows disease like cancer. God doesn't specialize in it. God specializes in healing it some way. And I can say that because right now, 90% of my family living at my hometown, they all have one form of cancer or another. One father, mother, and daughter have colon cancer. They all have the same doctor. The daughter's 40-some years old. It's my sister and her husband. They said to the girl, the doctor did, he says, you've got a stage 1, you'll be all right. We can handle it. I can help you. He said to my sister, he said, you've got stage 2. He says, I can help you to overcome it. You understand, she's the one who's already lost her daughter from melanoma, and a sister from melanoma, and another brother from something, another sister from something. And then he looks at him and he says to this man who's a real man, he says, I can help you for the first 4 years. That was 2 or 3 years ago. Look, that's devil work. It's not God's work. I know some of it's happening. I realize that. But God never brought it on. He knows how to get a family trapped into drugs. He knows how to trap a family into gambling so that a man could go and give everything he's got and end up dead in a swimming hole. You think it's God that does that. It isn't. He knows how to bring those AIDS and that TB. He knows how to bring those problems. He knows how to bring broken and battered women who are ashamed to tell what's going on because their daddy feels like he's got to beat the devil out of them every day. God help him. That's him. He's a highwayman. He knows how to lead people into pools of their own blood. But then there is one who's a good Samaritan who knows how to stop. And he'll stop regardless of how much of a hurry he's in. It doesn't matter whether he's got religion to take care of or whether he looks good or acts good or smells good. It doesn't matter. The great Samaritan is Jesus Christ himself. He says, I am come to bring you life. I'm come to stop where you are. And I'll stop everything to come where you are. And right now, sir, with the cancer, the doctors say it's the colon cancer again. Look, he stops where you are and he says, I'm with you all the way. He never says, look, I'm not just talking in circles. I'm talking to you personally here today. Who else but Jesus could feel the hurt? Who else but Jesus would be the one that you could go to and say, read it, Jesus, I'm guilty. Jesus, I've sinned away my day of grace. Jesus, I've got no chance. Jesus, nobody likes me. Jesus, I've lost my job. Jesus, I've got nothing. I'm telling you, he cares about you. That's why he cries at a graveside, and that's why he stops in a ditch, and that's why he says, I've got all my oil and wine and all my medicine. I've saved it for you and for your case. Just a minute. Will the rest of you get your hands out of your pocket and put them together like this? Come on. You hate to even clap, don't you? Scared to clap. His name is Jesus. That's why I serve Jesus. Oh, but I come to the worst one now. I understand who the Good Samaritan is. But what is that in? John, what is the end? I'll tell you what the end is. The end is right here in this house. The end is the church, its village, and Cedar Falls, and Covenant, and Snyder, and Northwood, and the Methodist Church. And it's every one of these churches. That's the end. And for us to act like we've got so much spirituality and dress up so beautifully like we do and say, this is my church, and then turn those away that are crying and desperate. Listen, it's so hypocritical. He must want to throw up sometimes. How do you think Fanny Crosby felt when she said, down in the human heart, crushed by the tempter? Rescue the perishing, care for the dying. We say, I don't care for no dying. Just give me my entertainment. It was Vance Havner, the great Baptist, who said, people that say, listen, entertain me at church, make me feel good, make me laugh. He said, people are laughing their way to hell. Oh, God. I can already see the U-Haul in front of my house already. I know that. Listen, I'm telling you the truth, and you know it. A church is for sick people. And for you to say, listen, we don't want that kind in my church. Listen, it's like the hospital at Cape Fear Valley when the ambulance pulls up there for them to put a sign out, warning, we don't want any sick over here. We're not a country club so that you can say, I'm a member of Norfolk Temple Church. We're a hospital for sinners and a hospital for the sick. This is where the sick people come to. That's the end. How am I going to spend the money? I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know where I'm going to get the money. But you're saying I'm going to take care of them. You have got to do it. It's on your hands. You say, oh, no, it isn't. It's on yours, and it's on Eddie's, and it's on Buck, and it's on Michael, and it's on Christine. It's on the clergy, my foot. It's on your shoulders. You're the innkeeper. You're the innkeeper as much as anybody else. And as much as you don't like what I'm saying, I'm telling you the truth, every bit of it. I'm telling you today that you are the ones that are the innkeepers. John Naisbitt said it for me. I have his book at home. It's about 10, 12 years old, maybe a little more. But Naisbitt said it. His book is called The Megatrends. It's worth reading. The Megatrends. Trends that are hitting us. I started to say I'd let you read mine, but I'm not going to do it. They don't come back. I have to go to people's houses to see where my books are, okay? Naisbitt says that there was a time in America when the pride of America was the railroad. Not anymore. It is in Europe and some other places where they got them that move 120 miles an hour, but not here. He said at one time, the Pennsylvania Railroad Company was the chosen of all of the businesses in America. It was a corporation that ran the world. It was engaged in moving things and moving people. But it didn't keep up with its time. And the railroad system said, we don't need to keep up with anything. We don't have to. We got airplanes now, but it didn't keep up with that. It could have been big with airlines. If it had only kept up, if it had only read, if it had only thought, it could have been tied together with the airline companies. It could have. And Naisbitt says, because of that, it is in disarray. It is in disrepair. And it's not good anymore. Because this is what happened. He said, it got to a place that it stopped existing for what it was made for. It was made to handle and move produce and things and people. But then it forgot what it was doing. And it started taking care of its business. It started saying, we are a business corporation, so they got to be a big business with all the business. And they took care of so much business that they didn't have any business. Hang on. And then Naisbitt came back. And he said, that's probably the same thing that happened to the church. The church was called to be the inn. The church was called to reach out to people. The church was called to reach the hurting and the dying and the sick. And yet we got in and we said, oh, well, yes, we got our little chosen frozen here, and let's don't get anybody else. You can't come. I had people to tell me that they were turned down by somebody at a church. They said, we don't have time for you. Look, I'm telling you, if you don't have time for people, you don't have time for a church. Give it to somebody else. Boy, I remember when we had buses and I loaded them up, and every Saturday, I devoted Saturday to every Saturday. And I cooked. along with Marty Rivard and several others, Aideen and Brock and different ones. And we fed them, and then we spoke to them. They went out and worked all day long, and they brought them. You know what somebody came and told me one day? Somebody said, now, John, this is a leader, okay? Said, John, you need to be careful. You're getting too many of them little children all over the church like this. You got to be careful, John. Don't you think you may? He tried to do it with such respect. I said, you know, you are very good. You're very careful. And I'm going to be very careful. You know what I did? I went out and got twice as many. Because it's our job to go where they are. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter whether they are red, yellow, black, white, pink, purple, anything else. It doesn't matter whether they are prostitutes on the street or if they're homosexuals or if they're drug addicts in church. This is a place for them. This is a hospital right here. Somebody say amen. Somebody say amen. You know it's the truth. And then Naismith said at one time, I'm trying to go bring it back by memory. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. He said that the church in Europe was built into having all of these things that were meeting the needs of the poor people. The Anglican church, I knew it'd come to me. You don't ever have moments like that, okay? He said the Anglicans were interested in helping the people who were sick and down and out and poor, and they grew. He said, but then they decided they didn't need that anymore. They had what they wanted, so they took care of their business. And then God moved it from them and moved it to, you know who is next? Moved it to the Methodist Church. And the Methodists did it with John and Charles Wesley and these others. And they took care of the poor until finally they said, we don't need it. We got to be careful now. We got to watch out for the business of the church. And they started taking care of the business and getting the business mixed up with the business, with the real business. And God lifted it from the Methodist Church and gave it to the Church of God, the Assembly of God, the Congregational Holiness, the Fire Baptized, and the Pentecostal Holiness. Said, feed the poor you have always. And we started. And I remember the time when we used to do it, but we're not interested in them anymore. We're just saying, make me feel good. I just want to be felt good. I want to laugh. I want to dance. I want to have a good time. And God will lift it from you. You understand? Oh, God help me. Lord. What do you think they did? What do you think they did with the early church when they started it? They had poor people coming out of their ears, coming out of the cracks. It was something else. Said, yeah, they fed them. Said, but yeah, they elected the members to do it. They said, we will let you do so-and-so because we're going to take care of the business of the church. Here's where we've messed up. Please do not misunderstand me. If you are a leader of the church today, the business of the church was never business. The business of the church was people and their hurts and their hurts. Can't you understand that? That's why our church denomination started calling it administrators, because administrators deal with things. The business of the church is not the business of the church. The business of the church is the people that are lost and dying, that are going to hell, unless we can do something about it. Now, I guess that's about it. God's end is supposed to reach the lost. You do it. What you get paid to do. God help you when you stand before God. And he says, what did you do to tell somebody about Jesus Christ? Well, let me tell you a few things about it, okay? On my last way out. I don't mind. You see the man right over there with the white shirt on the left, way over there? Jerry, hold your hand up, okay? Did you know that's Jerry Shaw. Did you know that when it gets to 32 degrees, that they summons Jerry Shaw, and he hooks up a bus out there and heads out to get these people that are freezing to death? Did you know that? And takes them over to the Salvation Army so that they can be warm and not freeze to death and have a meal? Did you know that? Did you know it? Did you know it? That's going on in this church. Oh, I'm just getting started. Look, you four guys jump up here, okay? You don't even know them, do you? You say, where'd you get them? I can tell you, most of them are university people. But they have a love for people, and it's called the Church on the Street. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Fayetteville.
What's your occupation?
I'm a school teacher.
You've got a degree?
Yes, sir.
And what's your occupation?
Registered nurse.
Oh, a registered nurse. And what's yours?
Preschool teacher.
A preschool teacher. And you're from, is it Panama?
I'm from Panama.
This is Olivia. This is Cindy. This is Delva Vereen. She's been here long as I can remember, almost, not quite. And this is Carol, who has a young boy who sang with the group up there. You know, when it said, we have seen the Lord. What was that one? We have seen the Lord during Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Listen, every Saturday they go. And some college students up here. Up there, yes. There's another one up there. Rest. Look. What do you do on Saturday? I just watch the cartoons. Where do you go on Saturday, Olivia?
On Saturdays, we're downtown at the Mike's Car Wash in 301.
And you have, who is it that does the preaching?
Pastor
Oh, Pastor Carol does the preaching. What'd you preach on last week?
The secrets of happiness.
Woo, the secrets of happiness. You mean those kind of people over there can understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you give an invitation?
Yes, I do.
How many got saved?
11 last week.
Whoa, glory! Isn't that something? 11 last week. Why do you do this, Elva?
I just love doing it because it blesses me to be able to go and provide comfort, love, and hope to these people, to let them know that there is hope. They're so happy when they see us, and they're so thankful. You know, we almost dehumanize them when they live on the street. So during that time that we are there, we give them back that little sense of hope. There's someone here that cares about me.
Glory, hallelujah. Why do you do this job, Cindy? I read about you all the time, the stuff you write.
Thank you, sir.
COTS, it's called.
Yes, sir.
Church on the Streets.
Yes, sir. I want to obey God, and I want to serve people, and I want to show the love of Jesus to everyone that we come in contact with, and they want to return the love.
Is Don all for you doing this?
Yes, sir. My
Don is her husband. He was the
Yes.
president of the union at Goodyear, okay? Look, they go under the bridge sometimes. It's cold. And what about last 2 or 3 weeks when my weather stick was headed straight down? My weather stick from South Carolina. When each night came, when it was, 15 and 16 and something like that degrees. Where do these people stay? I don't know. I got climate control in my house, we say. Do you ever think about it? I want you to I want you to who's going to tell about Tony? I want you to tell about Tony. Introduce him to Tony. I'll hold the mic. You just tell
Okay.
him, Carol.
Tony, whose nickname was also the Turtle, he passed.
Tony the Turtle?
Yes, Tony the Turtle.
Where did he live?
He lived under the bridge.
What bridge is that?
The one,
Oscar Breeze?
yes.
And what happened to Tony?
Well, when the temperatures got at single digits, he died. He froze to death under the bridge.
Last week,
Yeah, or during the Christmas
during
holiday.
the Christmas holidays.
And then there have been 3 others who have passed.
3 others. Rescue the perishing. Care for the dying. I know you think I'm crazy. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, look. What I'm telling you is this. This church is more than a country club where we can come and put our clothes and say, here we are. We are the army of God, and we are a refuge. You're talking about California being a refuge. We are a refuge for these people. And we've got to find those people. We've got to bring them with us. It doesn't matter where they are and what they look like. I don't care. Doesn't matter.